Hello and welcome to Behind Beloit. I'm Ellie Anderbyrne. This weekly talk show is an opportunity to slow down, ask questions, and introduce the people and systems that make Beloit tick. Today I am joined by the head coach of men's basketball at Beloit College, Josh Hinz. Josh was class of 2007 graduate at the college and a 4-year letter winner for the Buccaneers, with 3-time first-team All-Midwest Conference honoree and 2-time All-American and All-Midwest region selection. His name is all over the Beloit College record book. Since taking over the team in 2019, he's led the Buccaneers to the Midwest Conference Tournament in 23-24. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. Why don't we just start with how you got into coaching? How did you find your way into it? And what originally drew you to Beloit College specifically?
Well, yeah, I think my route basically was by Beloit College. I'm an alum of the college, so here from 2002 to 2006. I actually had access to the college a little bit earlier than even my college career. We came here in the summers, I believe my sophomore, junior, and senior year in high school. We used to come here for a giant tri-state team camp.
Okay.
So we'd actually stay on the college campus for a week, and pretty much, every day was 8 hours of basketball while we were here. But it got me access to the college campus, early. Really liked the feel of it. Loved it when I, visited and everything else. And so yeah, I ended up coming here as a student from 02 to 06. And then obviously had to get into the job force once I was done. But I helped out as a volunteer assistant coach for about 11 years after that, and then was fortunate enough that the college offered me the head position.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's I don't know that if you'd asked me in college or even the first few years out of college when I was helping here, I don't know that I would have said that being a head college coach was 100% what I wanted to do. But the longer I was in it, the more that I was around it, I really found a strong passion for it, and kind of really loved to see how the guys developed from the time that they were, freshmen on our campus to the time that they finished as seniors. And so, Beloit's just Beloit has been the big piece for me that's kind of led me down this coaching path.
That's wonderful. Can you talk a bit about that, how students develop over the 4 years? Are you thinking about their development as players, their development as students, their development as humans? What does that look like in your role as a coach?
Yeah, I think the obvious answer as a coach is you talk about their development as players. Obviously, I think, if we're doing our job as coaches, you see a lot of growth, with them in terms of their skill set and how they improve on the court. But honestly, I don't know that that's what brings me the most joy. Yeah, you want to see that, but to me, it really is just how our guys grow as people from the time they're, a freshman to the time that they graduate. That brings me some of the greatest joy, and it's pretty incredible to see just how much our student athletes change, over time while they're on our campus. And I think adding sports to that really just helps to enhance their overall experience.
So when I think about attending a game or, any fan, you're sitting there for 40 minutes, but there's got to be a lot of things that happen beforehand and behind the scenes to make the game a fun place to be, both for the athletes and then also for the fans. Can you talk a bit about that? What happens behind the scenes to make a game be successful?
Yeah, the game, the 40 minutes, that's the fun, quite honestly. A lot of times is from the coaching side that you actually feel less pressure during that period. That's the time for the guys to, try to excel. And but there's a lot that goes into, game preparation on a week-by-week basis, from the players' perspective. Obviously it's not just them going out and playing a game, it's 6 days a week of practice, probably anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, a day, when you're talking about on-court time, lift time, film time, and then most of our guys are, pretty highly dedicated, so they're all finding, probably at least another hour a day somewhere within their class schedule that they're getting into the gym and, getting extra shots up. On the coaching side, yeah, people ask me all the time, like, well, wait, you're a full-time coach at Beloit, well, what do you do outside, it's a lot. game prep is, especially this time of year where you got games are coming every couple of days. It's a lot of extensive film work, trying to just make sure that the guys are as well prepared as they can be. Recruiting obviously takes up a heavy amount of my time as well. And then, I don't know, I think it's one of the joys of coaching, but every day is every day is different. Every day brings its own adventure. I think that's probably only natural when you're coaching, 18 to 20 guys all in that 18 to 22-year-old age range. So, you just, every day I come in, you don't always know what's going to hit you next.
I got to imagine there's so much logistics that happens to get a whole team of people on a bus to a new location with the right uniform. Is it a home uniform? Is it a away uniform? Who forgot their sneakers? Do they have to eat on the way? Just all those pieces. What's it like to get all of that stuff organized? Are there people who help you? Is that you?
I mean, I'm pretty fortunate. Our assistant coaches that we have, they're kind of the same way I was. When I was a volunteer assistant here, it's, they're not full time, but I think they, with as strong of a job as they do, like our guys a lot of times probably wouldn't even know that they're not full time. So I'm really fortunate the amount of help that they provide. It was a little daunting, I know, like when I first took over as the head coach, like I had checklists like crazy, and it seemed like every time we were on the bus and going, like I was always paranoid for the first hour that I was forgetting something. Now I've been in it long enough, I feel like, I've got a pretty good grasp on it, and
you've got the right checklist.
And it is. It's a lot, but like anything, you just kind of you learn to to manage it better as time goes by, and I'm also lucky. I mean, I think at a place like Beloit, like we have really high character kids that are pretty well self-motivated as well, and so I don't always have the same headaches that maybe some other coaches do at some other institutions.
That's great to hear. Let's talk about that a bit. When you think about the student athletes at Beloit, they're students and they're athletes, and how do you balance the desire to be competitive on the court and have the students be really strong athletes with also supporting the players to be students, to be young adults, to grow in different ways? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just try to be really honest with the guys and up front, from the moment they get here on college campus. I'm not out to crush anybody's dreams, but I'm pretty straightforward with the guys that, even just statistically, percentage-wise, right, like for most of us, this is going to probably be the end of kind of basketball once the college experience is over, and so we need to make sure that we're focusing on the right things in the classroom and truly preparing yourself for what comes next. So we put a heavy emphasis on it. I think if you asked any of our guys, they would tell you that I think I'm as flexible as possible when it comes to making sure that their coursework needs to really be in the driver's seat next to basketball. But it is tough, right? Because we all want to win, and so we want to make sure that everybody is dedicating the appropriate amount of time to to be competitive. But I think for me as well, though, that's why I love the Division III model as much as I do.
To talk about that a bit for people who don't know what
it means
to be a
it's just a
Division
little
III
bit, obviously I would say, most players at the Division III level, like they're really doing it because of the love of the game. But it still allows that balance. It allows you to be, truly be a student and then use the athletic experience to kind of supplement that, where I would say at this point, kind of how the landscape has changed in athletics with Division I, I don't know how much of that educational component is still there, and I think you see that, if you kind of follow the news and things now. I think that's a big concern for some of the head coaches that are at that level now, is how much of this truly is even educational based anymore. And so for me, I love the Division III model and what it allows our student athletes to be able to do. They get to continue to participate in the sport that they love, but they can still dedicate the appropriate amount of time to their studies, and they can pursue other outside passions and hobbies as well.
Yeah, that seems important. So thinking about this season, what's a moment you've had this season, good or bad, that's really challenged you or tested you as a coach?
Yeah, I don't. There's both. I mean, obviously every season there is, right? I mean, it's kind of a roller coaster usually. Yeah, I would say even right now, the moment that we're in, it's January was a tough month for us as a team. Had some games where we were kind of right there, neck and neck with some of the best teams in conference. We also had some games where we were just kind of clearly not at our best, and so I think it's been it's been a struggle the last couple of weeks for us, and the biggest thing that we kind of keep talking about is we can't hide from that. We can't run from that. The process doesn't change. We still have to get a little bit better every single day, and but I do think that's the hard part in coaching is when you're having these tough stretches here. Is you have to really kind of be able to sit back, and I think you got to be able to evaluate yourself first and foremost. What am I doing or what am I not doing in practice and in game prep that is maybe not giving us the best chance at success, and you have to be willing to change in those situations. So yeah, I'd say there's goods and bads in every season. We're definitely living the tough part right now, and great part has been the guys have been super bought in. There's certainly been no quit in them. Their energy and their effort has been great the whole time, and because of it, they are improving.
That's good to hear. So when I think about the whole season of basketball at a college, it's kind of different from other kinds of sports because the students at the college generally go home over winter break.
Yeah.
They go home, in mid-December, they come back mid-January, they go home, they have a nice relaxing time. So what's it like to be a basketball player how long do they go home? When do they come back? When do they start playing? Yeah. What's it like to be on the quieter campus without all the students back? Is it?
Yeah, I think the guys actually probably enjoy the time. I mean, it is, I think we tend to see a lot of growth with the team during the Christmas break period. There's no class in session. So obviously for those guys, it's just kind of, they really just kind of get to focus on basketball, and then outside of, practice and things like that, just being together as a team, hanging out, doing whatever it is that college kids do in their off time nowadays. But it is, I'm sure it is a little bit tough as well. I think your returners are a little bit more used to it. It's probably a little bit more challenging for the freshmen their first year around, just the overall time commitment that it takes. All of your other college friends are, they're back home for probably a full month, right? Where our guys are usually somewhere maybe 6 to 8 days is probably about it, right around Christmas time. Sometimes, potentially even shorter. Last year we didn't get quite as much. Now the offset was the guys got to go to Daytona Beach and play a couple games down there. So I don't know that they were complaining about that. But I mean, it's definitely, it's just, there's a level of commitment that comes to it. That's just the way basketball goes. With it being a winter sport, we cross over both semesters, and it's definitely probably the longest of the time commitments in terms of, start a season to end a season. So I think guys learn they learn how to manage it the longer that they're in college. There's definitely, I think it is a true thing that sometimes there's a freshman wall that can happen for certain guys in their first year. But usually after that, they learn how to manage and, move forward.
Yeah. Recruiting has changed a lot across all of college athletics in recent years or recent decades. What does recruiting student athletes to a college like Beloit, to any Division III school, look like now?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been changes. I mean, I don't know that particularly here that we've seen as massive of changes as maybe what gets publicized a lot of times. Again, Division I, Division II, full scholarship schools with NIL money now on the line, right? Like that.
Can you explain what NIL is?
Yeah, so I mean, basically, the players at those levels now can, basically get paid for their name, image, and likeness. But there's not a whole lot of control that's going on with that right now, which is why you're seeing what you're seeing with players transferring frequently. And I don't think you can blame the players. I mean, they're moving around to what they feel is the best opportunity for them. But it's definitely caused some major issues at that level. I mean, just being able to retain your own players year after year has become, certainly increasingly difficult.
What's it like at Division III?
But here, I wouldn't say that we've had to deal with that fallout nearly as much. I think, for the most part, still with our level, you're dealing with students who, are worrying about their education first, and then the athletic component second. I think there's definitely been a trickle down. It's because of what's going on at the higher levels and how much that gets publicized, transferring and moving schools has almost seemed to become like a popular thing at this point. So I think there has been a little bit of a trickle down that way, but I would say, luckily, like I don't feel like, at least not yet, it hasn't made any sort of major wholesale changes for us on the recruiting side. It's a lot of time. It's very, very time consuming. There's, everybody, it doesn't matter what division you are. Every coach, every team is super competitive. Everybody's competing for the best athletes that are out there. And I'd say especially with the way that, social media has changed over the years now, it's really hard to find kind of that, that hidden gem that's out there. It's very easy for high school, student athletes now to get their film out for, to find ways to connect with coaches. And so, you're gonna have to be on your A game when it comes to the recruiting side of things, because you're definitely going to be competing with a lot of other schools.
So when you, if there was a high school basketball player watching this now and they were thinking, I hadn't thought about college, what do I do? What would be your advice to them? How do they get started reaching out to you or to any other coach? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? Do they just go to the admissions office? How would someone who knew nothing about this even get started in this space?
I think, you can certainly be your own advocate on the recruiting side of things. I think sometimes kids get caught up in I have to wait for coaches to find me. Yes, that is one way to do it. I mean, we're obviously out at a lot of events. We try to get to a lot of high school games, talk to high school coaches, get a good sense for, who the good players are in the area. But, you can help yourself with that too. I'm having to start to deal with that a little bit myself. My daughter's a sophomore this year. She's pretty heavily invested into volleyball, and I think she's kind of been on that same approach where it's like, well, they'll find me. And I said, well, you can do some things to really help yourself along the way here. So I think reaching out to coaches directly is great. I think it's important just to make sure that you're intentional about what you're doing. I think it definitely helps if whatever communication you're sending our way, it doesn't look like it's mass communication that you're probably sending out to, every other coach in America. And then, make sure to have some points in there, if it's emailing a coach or whatever. Obviously, you want some highlights about you, but I think it's good to make sure that you include, some things about the college that really stand out to you.
So I was going to ask about that. How do you think about, or how do students think about finding the right sports program, the right athletic program for them, but also finding the right academic program and social program? And, they have to want to play with the coach and with the team, but they also have to be at a college that's the right college. How do you help them think through that? How do they think through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, so much like during the recruiting process and, as many times as we're talking with recruits, I mean, that's usually the biggest thing that, that I'm trying to, hit home for them is like, this is a process, and you really, what you're trying to find out is ultimately what is going to be the best fit for you kind of on, many different scales, it's not just, you can't come here just for the basketball piece, you have to know that the academic components that we offer here are what you want, what you need, socially, is this going to be a good fit for you? There's a lot of, are you okay with a smaller campus? Do you want a larger campus? There's a lot of pieces that go into it. The fit with the coach, I think, is, that's a big piece as well. I think I'd probably naturally tend to gravitate towards, or I recruit guys more that maybe have somewhat of a like mindset to myself, because I think we're going to be together day in and day out, right, for a lot of hours, and so that fit with the coach is really important as well. And so still don't know that I have a perfect answer for how you find what is the right fit for you. I am a big believer in, like, once you do find it, you're gonna know it, you're gonna feel it. Obviously we certainly hope those are the feelings that recruits have, after coming to our campus and having a great visit. But it is a lot for prospective student athletes. I think it's a lot more difficult of a process than people probably think it is. Sometimes being courted or being suited by 10, 15 colleges, isn't as much fun as it sounds. And so sometimes it's a big relief for those students once they finally do make their decision.
What's something you look for in a prospective student athlete that isn't about basketball skills?
For me, I'm always trying to, you're trying to root out, character a lot of times through the recruiting process. I mean, I think every coach will tell you they love to have high character kids. So a big thing for me, high character kids, with a really steady, really hard work ethic is kind of typically two of the things that I'm looking for. It's amazing what those guys, sometimes those guys are a little bit behind on the skill set piece, the guys that really pop out on, on paper when you're watching them on the court. But those are just intangibles that you really can't sometimes make up for. And it's been incredible for me, even in my short amount of time, to see the guys who have that, just how they can develop and what kind of player that they can turn into. I bring up Aziz for us a lot. He just graduated last year. He's gonna go on and do some great things, not only for himself, but I think for the world, quite honestly. But he was not a heavily recruited kid, Beloit Memorial kid, right across the river from here, right? Not heavily recruited. I think his skill set in high school was lacking. We'll say lacking for now. But man, he just high character kid and just had a work ethic like no other, and ended up being a 2-time all-conference player for us. And I don't know how many coaches would have, ever guessed that for him, for where he was at as a high school player. You can see that with
that kind of character and that kind of work ethic, the skills come.
Well, and they're the culture drivers for you a lot of times within your program too. Like you have to have those guys, those constant, steady guys that they're just every day they're going to come in, they're going to do the right things on the court, off the court, they're going to represent your program well, and they're going to work their tail off every day.
I can imagine it helps when you identify the players who make the rest of the team better too, whether that's on culture or skills or something else. It's
no, I mean
nice thing.
We focus a lot here on I think just controlling what you can control, and so I think sometimes that's the hard part, right, of a smaller liberal arts college recruiting there. Like, you might not always be able to go get all the 4-star guys like as recruits, but there's plenty of guys out there that are willing to do the work, that are willing to develop into great players, and that are willing to buy into the right things from a team culture perspective.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I've got to imagine there's a lot of pressure people feel in games and competitions. How do you help players handle that kind of pressure, whether it's a close game, a tough loss, expectations from their family, from their friends, from their fans?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one, because it quite honestly, I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer to that. I think that tends to vary almost player to player. I think even within our group, I could bring you into practice and I could put the guys in a stressful or pressure situation, and you'll see 18 different ways maybe as to how guys are handling that. none of them are necessarily wrong, right? It's just every player is a little bit different with how they handle pressure, how they handle those moments. And I think the biggest thing, and what I try to spend a lot of time on, is just building those relationships with the guys away from basketball, which then really helps me to learn, who they are and what paths, what avenues, what techniques, what strategies are going to help them best when those stressful moments come around. I do think as a general rule of thumb that I try to remind our guys a lot about is, what, at the end of the day, this is a kid's game, and let's try to keep that in perspective.
Yep.
But I do think it's tough. I mean, I think if it was just that, right, if it was just going out and playing the game, it probably wouldn't be as stressful for the guys. But unfortunately, there is sometimes a lot of outside noise that comes along with high school sports, college sports, whatever it may be, pro sports, obviously. And so you do have to, it's a challenge for the guys. You have to learn, how to kind of control that, how to be able to tune that out. That can be really difficult because sometimes it's some of the closest people in your life. But I think that's where you really have to lean. You have to, in those tough situations, you have to lean more into your team and really just focus on the fact that in those moments, nothing outside of that huddle really matters.
So when you think about a player looking back on their college playing experience 10 years later, what do you hope that they remember or feel or think about their time playing basketball at Beloit College?
Well, hopefully it was that they had a great experience, I think, first and foremost. That's usually at the forefront of my mind all the time is, what are we doing here? How do we need to go about doing this so that it doesn't matter if we go undefeated, it doesn't matter, win-loss record, whatever it is, how we ran practice, any of that's that doesn't ultimately define, their happiness here, their overall success. And so that's the first piece is really just, trying to make sure that this truly is a great experience for our guys. Again, the athletic component is just adding to, the academic experience that they're getting. We try to push every day with the guys just, how important it is to use this experience to help enhance those relationships that you're building on campus day after day. I look back on my time, I don't know, I couldn't probably run you through most of the games that I played, what happened in them, what the scores were, any of that kind of stuff. But man, do I remember a lot of the locker room conversations or the conversations at dinner after practice with the guys, or just some of the goofy stuff that we used to do. And, I really cherish those relationships that I was able to build through playing basketball here. It's great. Life, obviously, once you get out of here, life pulls everybody in a million different directions. But to know that I have that core group of guys that I played with, while I was on the basketball team here, and know that even though I haven't maybe seen some of those guys in years, one phone call away in a tough situation, and I have no doubts that they would be there for me. And so, I think that's what I would probably wish most for any of our guys 5, 10 years, 20 years down the road. Once they're done here.
It's wonderful to hear. We've been joined by Josh Hins, the head men's basketball coach at Beloit College. Thank you for joining us.